Welcome to another episode of Little Talks, your weekly dose of marketing news and insights from Littlefield Agency.
Welcome back to another edition of Little Talks with Littlefield Agency. I am Sam Littlefield, and with me is
Roop.
We got a great topic this week. We're excited to dive in. It is, I don't know, man. There's something about post-summer solstice leading up to the 4th of July. I've just been in a spectacular mood in the sense of summertime. I love summer.
I don't love the heat, but I do like summer. Yeah.
Well, for those that are in the Midwest, you know the heat that we're dealing with. I think it's 100 today with a heat index of like 111.
Yeah, I think that's not just the Midwest. I think
everyone
right now is, except for the Northwest.
I think Yellowstone got snow over Father's Day, so shout out to Bozeman. Good for you guys.
Shocker.
Anyway, so we know a lot of you are on vacation. I think that's awesome. If you're listening to the pod on vacation, kudos to you. Drop us a DM. We'd love to hear where you are. Are you in Spain? Are you in the Caymans? Are you in Florida?
Yeah.
Colorado?
I didn't listen to the podcast on vacation.
You didn't?
No, I don't think so.
That's okay.
I thought about it.
But you didn't want to hear your own voice.
But then I read that book you wanted us to read.
Always got to go with the jabs, man. For those that listened last week, Wellness Week was in progress. It was a total hit. It's such a good reminder. It was really cool for me, the amount of walking meetings, just people taking laps and chatting. Mm-hmm. I went with Brandon and Chelsea in the neighborhoods on a very hot day, and we walked, Brandon, 1.5 miles over lunch. I was pretty sweaty, but it was just nice to take a break, and instead of being cooped up in the office. We have our 2-step challenge winners, so it's we had actually I think 13 in the drawing for $100.
I was about to ask, I didn't know.
Yeah, cha-ching. That's right, Brandon. Melissa and Sarah won, which was great. Two deserving ladies.
So 13 people hit 35,000 steps
by Thursday at 1 p.m.
in
correct?
4 days, right? I think I didn't do it, so my average walking was about 15,000, about half that.
Okay.
So 13.
So you were not in the drawing.
No, but 13 folks were in the drawing. We went to American Solera for happy hour,
which was
great happy hour again. Great group for happy hour.
Roop had fun.
Yeah, I did.
Were you hungover the next day?
I was hungover that night. Yes, in fact, I was. And then we draw of a hat, the 13 people, and it was Sarah and Melissa.
Sarah and Melissa. It was good.
What'd they win?
$100.
$100 each.
Yeah, it was good.
And
it was
little
so
baby
funny.
trophies.
Sarah was so cute. She's like, it's Addie's birthday. This is all going towards Addie.
Oh,
I was like, that's so sweet.
Great.
Hey, yesterday, I just want to announce this. Tulsa Health Department was in for a meeting here at the agency in our main presentation room for a non-agency meeting. And the reason that I bring that up, it's awesome to see clients use our space. I offer it up all the time. Leanne, shout out to you, had a just strategic offsite for her department, going over some mid-year initiatives. Their fiscals in July, and it's just a reminder to our clients. While we love meeting with you here at the agency, you can come on up here and use our space.
They hung around, had lunch.
They had lunch, kitchen, and it was just fun. A lot of them walking around the agency, looking at the space, seeing our people, and we love that as an agency. So I want to offer that out there. If you are not in Tulsa, come on over. It's a good space. Actually, there's a lady last Friday. She got off the elevator with her husband and her children. They were viewing the space. I don't know if they're looking at moving in the building. And she's walking around, and I just hear her totally unprompted say, "This is the coolest space that I've ever seen." And I literally was like, I 1,000% agree, ma'am.
To clarify, random strangers don't come off the elevator. Our building manager, Barry.
Yeah, it's a good random point of clarification.
Will very frequently, at least a couple times a week, use the space as a touring deal for other floors.
It's a good way to show off his amazing building. Yeah, he should be proud of it.
I think he'd be really, really happy to see a cigar lounge on this floor as well.
Oh, dude, wouldn't that be awesome? That speakeasy's calling the name.
It really is.
If we could figure out the ventilation system.
I got to get on that.
That would be incredible. Okay, so we have one main topic today. I'm really excited for this. So topic number 1, thank you, Brandon, is stretching your B2B marketing dollar. Yeah. Here's the thing. A lot of you, I talk to multiple prospects a week, and sometimes we're the right fit and we continue the conversation. Sometimes it may not be the right fit, and that's totally fine. It always blows my mind on how many B2B companies, they're just the opportunity that they have to what I would call come to 2024, right? There are so many cost-effective ways to stretch your B2B marketing dollar. And if we're the right partner for you, fantastic. There's other agencies that you might fit better with from a budget standpoint. From a personality and relationships is the most important thing. Yeah. Of course, you're hiring us for our talents, but the relationship. I got this awesome note the other day from a client. I won't say who, and said, "Thank you for your business relationship, but I more so enjoy my friendship with the people at your agency."
Yeah, incredible.
It's incredible. I mean, you can't beat that compliment. So,
by the way, the agency's responses to you sharing that was also equally. It was a real love fest. Is what was going on there.
It was a total love fest, which we love hearing that. We love the praise. So we're going to walk you through. I'm going to have Roop start this off for a little bit, but just thinking through, you're halfway through the year, and your plans are set. You're in summer vacation mode. The 4th of July is coming up, but let's be honest. Back to school's coming quickly around the corner, and then boom. Brandon's already ready for it, and then we're in the holidays, and then you're starting to think about 2025. So we just want to walk you through some tips and tricks, kind of what we're working through with our current clients and how we approach their B2B marketing spend, media strategy, analytics, all the above. Roop.
Yeah, so this one being stretching your B2B marketing dollar is mostly centered around some ideas and things you might check out or try if you're finding that the dollar's not going as far as you want it to, or maybe you're getting into planning season here, which starts in a couple months for a lot of folks, right?
Yeah.
And you're having to make some tough decisions about what to do with the budgets you do have. So one of the things we like to try and do when we're in the middle of it and we've inherited a budget or we're trying to recommend for budgets, we've got about 6 things here that we try to hit. I don't know if this is the entirety of what we look at, but it's kind of the higher things you can kind of look at as well. And one of the first things we try to see is what are the high impact channels? What channels have your highest ROI? And are you really present there, focused there, have a strategy for it? And those channels can be things like email marketing, Facebook and LinkedIn, usually top choices for B2B brands. But you'd be surprised how many folks kind of don't have a presence on some of those channels, or maybe they post once a month, or they don't have
spend behind
media
it.
spend behind it, right? And in some cases, depending on your brand, TikTok's a relevant channel now. As it turns out, it's a search engine. It's where if your audience is under 30, 35, which in some cases is true, that's where they're at now. So kind of focusing in on where the high impact channels are and which channels have you been on just out of habit and repetition that maybe no longer are relevant or not really producing the way they used to, because these things change quite frequently.
Well, and thinking about, that's a great point on channels, thinking about some of the high impact just presence you can have via ad formats.
Yes.
We have some Stack Adapt is a great DSP partner of ours. And you can do some really, really cool stuff, a little bit higher CPM, but it grabs people's attention. Again, we're looking for it 100% high impact. But when I talk to prospective clients, a lot of them, we're on LinkedIn. Yeah, we got that post got 1,000 impressions last week. 10,000 impressions. Okay, that's fantastic. How many people went to your website? Oh, you know what? I think we got a couple hundred clicks.
How many of those 1,000 bought from you?
How many of those 1,000 bought from you? Exactly. You beat me to it. And but the important thing, and if they're not buying for you, how are we leveraging the marketing funnel, right? So that's just one, and that gets into analytics.
Yeah. So the next thing that we like to look at, and we just got to have Chris on sometime. Chris Kaiser is Captain Analytics, and he's kind of slippery when it comes to like nailing him down to do something like this. But like we really need him on. He's a genius. He's a smart guy.
Chris is awesome, and he doesn't love to make public appearances.
No, he does not.
And I'm sure he's not listening to this, thankfully.
No, but I'd say...
But he's done a hell of a job.
Yeah, between him and Brandon, I'd say he's more likely to be on this.
Yeah, totally, 100%.
Brandon's not even paying attention.
Not even paying attention. Well, so what Chris brings to the table is, so he's looking from top of the marketing funnel down to consideration, down to purchase, and that could be through dealership distribution networks too, driving people to your dealerships. Mm-hmm. He's understanding that data and where we can be better. Again, this whole point is stretching your B2B marketing dollar.
Yeah.
You might have an incredibly low cost per click on one channel and very high on the other. Depending on what we're trying to do in that marketing funnel, we might allocate budget that is way more expensive for you and allocate that accordingly to something that is performing better. We just got out of an analytics meeting last week. The insights were incredible. The client was blown away. And it's because we're paying attention to those fine-tuned metrics and how we can stretch that B2B marketing dollar.
Yeah, I mean, back to your 1,000 impression example, he's the kind of guy that isn't impressed by that at all unless he wants to know how much money you got out of that or what was your conversion and how many of those converted.
And the only thing that I would argue there, and I hear what you're saying, is for YouTube pre-roll, 100% we expect a high CPM.
Yeah.
And we understand that you're watching maybe a 6-second bumper ad, and you're not going to make a purchase for your zero turn grasshopper mower.
Not off that.
Not off that. But how are you interacting with that ad? And then how do we lead you further down the funnel is what he's paying attention to.
And how much does that ad contribute to you going down the funnel?
Very nice.
Which he knows. So he's really looking at it he's looking after your dollar. I've seen him manage clients' budgets like they're his own. Very much so.
He takes it very damn seriously.
Yeah, and it's all analytics based.
We have a client. I had a client lunch a couple of weeks ago, and it was the CMO, great brand. And they were talking about a potential influencer strategy, and they were talking podcasts, et cetera. And his thing was, he's like, man, I'm trying to wrap my head around this influencer game, but I just don't see that immediate ROI. And I said, totally get that, right? And depending on the influencer for this client, it could be tenfold. But what I told him was, hey, are they going to post and then boom, they become a customer? Probably not. But are we also looking for other channel correlations? If you've engaged this influencer, do we see a natural lift in organic search? Right. Do we see more activity in paid search keywords? So there are correlations that we're looking for that really help us understand, okay, this was actually a great, this is called a $10,000 media buy. And we saw a natural lift in organic during this month. Again, is it exact science? No, but we're paying attention to those sort of behaviors.
Yeah, and along the lines of stretching your marketing dollar here, that's the kind of thing that maybe you had a hunch on or you wanted to try and you jump into and you get halfway through it or a little ways into it and you're unsure if it's working or not. Chris or someone who's paying attention to your analytics for decision making that's the kind of thing where you say, well, it's not, but we've got a budget. Let's reallocate it because I see over here something's really working. And if I could just, if you're getting a ×3 return on this tactic or strategy or media or whatever it is, let's put money there. If we got a ×3 here and a ×1 here, that's a no-brainer. So reallocating can stretch your dollar a little bit more, even if you want to do something cool and it's just not. I do it all the time. And want to try something out, it's not working. That's okay. Let's go to something that is.
What's a great point? Let's say we are in year one. There's certain industry benchmarks that we're trying to beat. Of course, ultimately we're driving sales. That's our number one focus. What I love about the analytics piece is back, 10 years ago when we were putting together media plans, I think we're going to do this, I think we're going to do that. Website traffic goes up. And those were such soft metrics. And now we're like, no, we understand that this actually drives customers. We're going to put 3 times more budget allocated from here for 2025 planning. And that's when you get into the really interesting thing. Then you're looking at year-over-year data and what's performing well and what's not. And should we try new tactics? Google Demand Gen has been a phenomenal tactic for some of our clients, and it's been a bust for others. Yeah, it's really interesting just seeing how different industries or different clients work in different media plans.
Yeah. So analytics,
Mr. Content Man, talk to us. We've had a lot of conversations in the last 6 months.
Yeah, our next
content as it pairs with media. Take it away, amigo.
So when you're creating content, there's lots of different types of content. There's inbound content, and then there's just content, the content that you create to kind of influence or be present. Creating evergreen content is a good way to stretch your marketing dollar. Stuff that's going to last longer than the month or two that you've created it, and it's kind of has an active life. It's being shared on social. Maybe you have an email that's going out promoting it. Evergreen content lives on, and a year later, you'll see that it's still doing well through SEO. People still have an interest in it and are coming back to it without you having to promote it. Things that are evergreen content tend to be things like guides, walk-around videos, FAQs, how-tos. That's stuff that lives on forever versus something that is more topical, which is most of our podcasts, by the way. So
yeah, for sure.
Like 2 years from now, no one's going to want to go back and listen to our Google podcast or
not relevant,
week, right? Yeah, but that's okay. That's a different kind of content here. If you're stretching your budget, though, evergreen content really will go a long way. That investment lives a lot longer than otherwise.
Well, an understanding too of the amount of content that's thrown our way every day, right?
Yeah,
it used to be 5,000, different ad impressions. Now I've heard something, 7,500 to 10,000 a day, just because we're bombarded on our phones, right?
Yeah.
Ad fatigue is a thing, and so understanding frequency levels, understanding what's resonating. Okay, hey, we're seeing that this actually knockout photography versus experiential photography is performing so much better. Let's inform our content strategy going forward and test that. Might be performing really well on this channel, whereas experiential is performing really well on this channel. It's those kind of things that we're understanding, and then all of a sudden, to Mr. Content over here, you're working that into your CRM strategies and understanding ongoing content. It's just there's a lot of great correlations that can be made understanding the whole content paid media game.
But if your budget feels like it doesn't have room for it,
good point.
It probably does. You need to find a corner to create content. Content is how you stay present and in front of your audience in a way that's not, hey, I got a sale going on, or I've got a new thing, whatever. Like you need to be in front of them in a way that you're a partner or a friend.
Yeah, and that's actually a very, very good point. We had a client years ago. They had $1 million plus media budget, paid media budget. And we gave them a quote for, let's just call it a $10,000 video shoot. And they're like, no, that's too expensive. It's like, no, think of your content plan as part of your media plan.
Yeah.
And it's like, again, I could go on a whole soapbox here, but it's like stock photography is one thing. Actual real people, your brand, your tone, your presence is a whole different thing. And so understanding that, it's a really good point, Roop, of allocating and budgeting accordingly for paid media is so important. Get your name out there. Good content is as important as well as that paid media approach.
The media can only work as hard as the content allows.
Wow. Sensei.
There you go. Along the lines of content, while we're on it, repurposing that content's another good way to stretch your dollar.
It is, yes.
I love dropping those on you. Not planned. So
making me blush over here, man.
Repurposing your content means if you've already been creating content, or in the past you had someone at your organization that was, figuring out ways to stretch that into other formats is a good way to get more bang for your buck. So if you've written a blog post, can that be turned into an infographic? Can it be a webinar? Is it a podcast script? What else can you do with that content that takes it off the channel it lives in and moves it to other channels? And the best thing to do is, if you've already have a library of content, what's performing the best in that medium? Take those and reformat them into the other mediums I just mentioned and see how they do there. So
love it.
That doesn't cost
Great
as
point.
much. Repurposing costs a little less than creating generally. So that's a good way to stretch your dollar as well.
I've got this visual in my head, and it's not podcast, it's a content strategy slide that you and Brock created. What I love about it is a lot of people, we've got 2 clients right now that we are literally about to eventually launch their podcast here shortly. And it's like, no, podcast just isn't on Spotify. It's on YouTube, and it's in your social media strategy, and it's on your website.
Places it
oh
shows
my
up.
God,
Yeah.
it's amazing. One piece of content.
Yeah, we're going to do a whole podcast about podcasts being the silver bullet.
I think
of
after
content.
the 4th of July.
Yeah, it's about two weeks.
That'll
or
be
so.
good.
Yeah.
Okay, hit us with one last point, Roop, and then we'll wrap.
Okay. Empowering your network on stretching your dollar. So this means if you have, and your network can be a lot of different things. I mean, your employees.
Internal, 100%.
Yep, that's an easy
Great
one.
idea.
It could be your dealer network. It could be your social channels, your following. But empowering your network to produce content for you is also a pretty cheap way. So if you're thinking about like your social channels and you've got a following on there of folks, repurpose the stuff they're posting about you. You don't have to create anything. You just reach. And by the way, they love it. They love getting acknowledgement from the brand. So share that content, comment on that content, repurpose their content in a way that it empowers them and gives you something to put out there. If you've got a dealer network, it's kind of a no-brainer, but make sure you're providing co-branded materials, co-op type stuff. That's a good way to get them involved. And if you've got employees, this is a pretty common standard practice on LinkedIn. Most folks encourage their employees. In fact, LinkedIn's starting to I'm looking at it right now. As you post, you can recommend to your employees as the brand. So if you've put something out on your channel, on your brand's channel, you can recommend it to all your employees, who in turn can engage and share and spread the word as well. So empowering your network is free in most cases and a good way to stretch your marketing dollar.
Love that, Roop. Okay. I think that's what we got for today.
That's all.
How to stretch your B2B marketing dollars 101 from Sammy and Roop.
There's a little bit more on the website at littlefieldagency.com under POVs. I think this came out a month ago.
Okay,
about a
cool.
month ago.
Yeah, again, we always thinking of content, right? We've got this podcast. We have a full write-up. It's just part of our SEO strategy. So, Roop, you're a genius. You dropped some words of wisdom.
Well, we're recording still, right?
When I tell Matthew that he's a genius, Dad, I'm not a genius. I'm like, no, it's a good thing.
Yeah.
It's a good thing.
Matt, be a genius.
I know, right? He is a genius. Love that kid. Okay, we will catch you next week, 4th of July. It's a short week. It's going to be a great episode, and we hope you have a wonderful rest of your week.
Yeah.
Until then.
Adios.
Bye.
And that's a wrap. We hope you've enjoyed our little chat and found ways to grow your own marketing strategies. Remember to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts and follow us on social media @Littlefield Agency.